series tonight. Fact or fiction?
Fiction. Here's why. Because, we talk about small ball lineups. Well, the Raptors, without Fred VanVleet, have employed the long ball. And it's been a home run. Yeah, I know. That was weak. Dad joke. Sorry. But still, Harden has a hard time going up against length and athleticism. He has shot under 37% from two-point range. And within 5 feet, he's been awful finishing at the rim. They are keeping him out of the paint where he does a lot of his damage. Of course, he does shoot threes, but still, that long ball lineup that they've got out there with Scotty Barnes at the point guard position has been a major factor, and it's going to continue to bother him.
All right, bonus fact or fiction. Monica.
Sorry, Kevin.
Monica. Alan Hahn can dunk over the late, great George Mikan. Fact or fiction?
Ooh. You know what? I got your back, Hahn. That's a fact. Back in his day, Hahn had some hops. There you go.
See, that's that friend that hypes you up and tells you to wear that out the house when you shouldn't.
Just tell Keyshawn Johnson he better watch out. That's all.
Speaking of the opposite of hyping up, this is Joel Embiid talking about James Harden's recent play, the passive style play. Listen to this.
I've been saying all season since he got here, he just needs to be aggressive and he needs to be himself. That's not really my job. That's probably on coach to, talk to him and tell him to, take more shots, especially if they're gonna guard me the way they've been guarding. But that's really not my job.
But when he is taking the shots, they're not falling, just shooting 37% in the series. So what's at stake here, Alan, for James Harden tonight?
Oh, there's a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of questions about how the fit is with he and Joel Embiid. And the last thing you want to do now is have to go into the summer, into the offseason, if you lose this series, or even if you get into the next series. And you got to start doing this marriage counseling between the two, getting them to play together, getting them to connect on and off the court. That part is so important for a team that's trying to win a championship and obviously advance in the playoffs. It's on Doc Rivers as well to get these guys on the same page. But James Harden's got to decide whether or not he wants to compete, because I heard Stephen A. Smith, and that's not a crazy conspiracy theory. Maybe he doesn't really feel the coaching of Doc Rivers. Maybe he'd rather have his own coach in there. And maybe he just looks at this like, yeah, let's get to the offseason so we can make some changes and get things that I want to have around here, like maybe Mike D'Antoni.
Such an ugly situation in Philadelphia if they blow this 3-0 series lead. So, Monica, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your level of concern for the Sixers tonight and potentially Saturday in a Game 7?
My level of concern is at an 8, Nagandi. I think that this Raptors squad is playing very confidently. There was no way that they should have been up, 14 at one point in Game 5 without Fred VanVleet, when you think about how they've been able to be successful through the course of the regular season. So they've been able to win games without their full complement of guys, and now they're potentially getting everybody back. And again, some of those things, the intangibles, are going to matter. They are together as a cohesive unit. They are playing terrific defense. Pascal Siakam had his second career playoff game with at least 20 points and 10 rebounds. And so they're riding high. I think those comments and the bit of dissension that you're starting to see from the Sixers are largely very, very concerning.
Alan, so my level of concern is at 27. How did we get here? A week ago, the series felt like it was over. They're up 3-0, and now we're talking about a historic collapse. What do you see in this meltdown over the last week?
Well, you see the injury. Joel Embiid's playing with 9 fingers now. He's got the thumb issue, and that's something that you can't overlook. So you start with the injury. That's the beginning of the recipe for a meltdown. The other one is the disconnect that I have talked about. We just played the stuff that Embiid said. He said even more about how guys didn't have each other's backs defensively. That's a major concern. So there's another element to it. And then you have the confidence demonstrated from the confidence comes from demonstrated performance. It also, a lack of confidence comes from demonstrated performance, and that is the inability of Joel Embiid and this Sixers franchise over the last couple of years to advance in the postseason beyond the second round. We saw it last year. Couldn't beat the Hawks. Couldn't beat the Raptors a couple of years ago on a big shot. And remember, Game 3. They weren't even leading that game until Embiid hit that huge shot. Mm-hmm. So that Game 3 was at the very end. The series turned in Game 3.
There's so many pessimistic. Let me just really quickly, I'm glad you mentioned the Hawks. For the folks at home that don't know, I'm from Atlanta, and it was really our responsibility for 15 years to carry the mantle of choking. And as a super champion for the last 6 months or so, As a super champion for the last 6 months, it's taught me one thing, Kevin. You have to have a rational confidence in your team. When things seem bleak, you have to just give it that good old college try. Keep your energy high. Keep those positive thoughts up, and maybe you'll avoid the worst collapse in the history of the NBA.
You were setting me up. I know. Thank goodness. Salt the wound.
Okay, I'll be fine. I'll end with this. I'll be positive. You ready? The positive thing is, you have zero chance of making it past the Heat anyway. So this way you get to move on quicker.
You make a fair point, right? Yeah. Less pain later on in the day. I cannot believe
they were friends.
Show tomorrow with
Whatever.
you. Please win.
I want them to win.
Painful.
No, you don't.
Go Sixers.
It's so petty. All right, tomorrow night we'll have Game 6 of the Western Conference first round match.
Holding it down for Greeny, who's at the NFL draft. In the NBA, we had Bucks Bulls last night, Game 5. Milwaukee looking to close things out, up 3-1 in the series. And very first possession, we got a Giannis, the putback. So they take a lead early, and well, that's all she wrote.
Oh yeah.
Final seconds of the first in transition. I don't care that there's 5 to the whole team. Just throw everybody in there. Giannis bullying his way through. Early second quarter, it's more Giannis in the paint with 3 Bulls defenders. How do you stop this? 23 points in the first half for Giannis, most points in the first half in his playoff career. Did anybody else play? It's just all Giannis highlights. By the way, I want to remind everyone at home, he prepared for this game by transferring Oreos from crystal vase to crystal vase. So that's literally where we're at with Giannis as his team rolls. The Bulls, they move on to face the Celtics, and according to Caesars, the defending champs have the 3rd shortest odds to come out of the East. The disrespect. The Celtics are currently the favorites to win the conference. The Heat are just ahead of the Bucks. Call me a hater, but I saw the Heat in that Hawks series. I still think it's the Bucks.
Boy.
What is the single biggest factor, Monica, that you're looking for in this Bucks-Celtics series?
I can't wait for this series. I'm so excited. The single biggest factor is going to be how the Bucks deal with the Celtics defense. The Celtics statistically are one of the best teams in terms of how they guard the paint. We all know about the wall that people try to employ against Giannis, but there's something very real to that. Al Horford and Grant Williams are not strangers in terms of spending time guarding Giannis. So what does the Celtics defense look like? Now for the Bucks, I will say that I think Lopez is going to be an interesting X factor because the Celtics are going to have to decide, are they going to allow Robert Williams, Horford, Grant Williams, any combination of those 3 guys to be drawn away from the basket, and they have to decide whether they're going to help on penetration or allow Lopez to knock down shots the way that he's done at a very high clip, Al.
Alan, our folks at home literally just watched the entirety of the Bulls team trying to defend Giannis numerous times. What could you see the Celtics throwing at him?
I see them not trying to take charges. That doesn't make any sense against him. He'll just Euro step around you. But as Monica pointed out, you certainly have Al Horford, who's got that pass that the Celtics have used him. Brad Stevens used him a lot as sort of a Giannis stopper. I also want to see, first of all, is Scott Foster going to be part of the referee crew in Game 1 to set the tone? Because the Celtics defense was very physical against Kevin Durant, and you could say got away with a lot of physicality, extra physicality. I imagine they're going to try to employ the same thing against Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, keep in mind, too, he's getting better at shooting his free throws. For whatever reason against the Celtics, however, this season, he was not excellent from the free throw line. He was under 70%. You'll live with that. I'd rather put him at the line than let him get free runs at the basket and momentum dunks over my defense. So that's what I want to see. How much is the officiating going to allow this to stay physical, and how much is he going to be able to deal with that throughout a long series, or at least what could be expected to be a long series?
I also want to thank Monica and Alan. We ran out of time, and now I'm going to have to hear it from Boston Celtics fans. You're not even going to talk about the Celtics, and they're the #1 team to come out of the East.
It's a good accent right there.
Play a little
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Jason Tatum's great. There we go, Kevin.
With that, let's play a little Fact or Fiction looking ahead to tonight. Alan, let's start with you. Luka will lead the Mavs to a win over the Jazz. Fact or fiction?
That's a fact. There's no doubt about it. It's mainly because Luka looked terrific and came back like he wasn't even hurt. And the Mavs are just grinding, playing hard. Jason Kidd's done a great job coaching this team, especially defensively. And we talk about the Sixers having some disconnect. Look at the huddles that the Jazz have. I love the fact that Donovan Mitchell's going to play through injury, but the Jazz have also some chemistry issues that will be dealt with in the offseason.
We'll get to the Sixers in a moment. Monica, the Pelicans will push the Suns to a Game 7. Fact or fiction?
I got a fiction on this one. I think the Suns respond. Mikal Bridges is coming off of a big-time performance. His confidence is up. I think CP3 understands the magnitude of the moment. And then Devin Booker is back in the fold. To me, this has been the best team in the league. There's a reason I think they shine tonight.
Boy, the Sixers could use a guy like Mikal Bridges, who they drafted.